वेलकम टू विंटर वेबिनार सीरीज 2022। इस डॉक्टर M.P.S ग्रुप के अध्यक्ष महोदय स्क्वाड्रन लीडर A.K. सिंह सर जी का समय की व्यस्तता के कारण आने में अनुपस्थित रहे, लेकिन उनके मार्गदर्शन में ये वेबिनार का कार्य का आयोजन किया जा रहा है। लेकिन उनका मेरा बहुत बहुत आभार है, ये वेबिनार कराने का हमें मौका मिल रहा है, अवसर दिया है और इससे छात्र छात्राएं बहुत ही लाभान्वित होंगे। अब मैं इस महाविद्यालय के निदेशक महोदय डॉक्टर अनूप कुमार गोयल जी सर जी का मैं स्वागत और अभिनंदन करती हूँ। सर की देख-रेख में ये वेबिनार का कार्य का आयोजन किया जा रहा है और सर का बहुत-बहुत अभिनंदन व स्वागत। प्रिंसिपल डॉक्टर M.P.S वर्ल्ड स्कूल चार्ल्स किलरेन सर जी का इस वेबिनार में स्वागत अभिनंदन करती हूँ। सर का बहुत ही एक्सपीरियंस है इस फील्ड में और जब लॉकडाउन हुआ था सर ने एक टास्क था कि कैसे हम लॉकडाउन में एक्सपीरियंशियल टीचिंग करानी है। सर ने बहुत अच्छा इनोवेशन दिया था, बहुत अच्छा वो करा था। अब मैं इस वेबिनार की मुख्य वक्ता जो विशेष वक्ता हैं डॉक्टर दयाल संधू जी का इस वेबिनार में स्वागत अभिनंदन करती हूँ, जो कि जामिया मिलिया इस्लामिया यूनिवर्सिटी में डिस्टेंस एजुकेशन में ये असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर है। मैम का बहुत अच्छा एक सोशल वर्किंग भी काम करती हैं। मैडम ने बहुत सारे सेमिनार, कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग, वेबिनार कराए हैं और मैडम ने 25 रिसर्च पेपर पब्लिश भी किए हैं और मैडम का इस फील्ड में बहुत अच्छा एक्सपीरियंसेस है। मैडम का बहुत-बहुत स्वागत व अभिनंदन करती हूँ मैं इस वेबिनार में। और साथ ही इस महाविद्यालय की शिक्षा संकाय की मिसेस सीमा ढींगरा, जो कि बहुत ही एक्सपीरियंस टीचर है मैम, और मैडम का मैं इस वेबिनार में स्वागत व अभिनंदन करती हूँ मैं। अब मैं आज का हमारा टॉपिक है एक्सपीरियंशियल टीचिंग इज नीड ऑफ ग्लोबल टीचिंग एनवायरनमेंट। अगर हम एक्सपीरियंशियल टीचिंग की बात करें तो ये हमारा टेल मी आई फॉरगेट, I teach you may remember, involve me I learn। तो ये इस कॉन्सेप्ट के बेस के आधार पर ये हमारा एक्सपीरियंशियल टीचिंग आई है। एक्सपीरियंशियल टीचिंग का हम अगर कहें कि शिक्षा का उद्देश्य ये नहीं कि हमें सिर्फ नॉलेज ही देनी है बच्चों को, हमें नॉलेज देने के अलावा हमें उनका स्किल सारा डेवलपमेंट करना है। और इसके साथ साथ हमें ये जो एक्सपीरियंशियल टीचिंग है, एक्सपीरियंशियल टीचिंग हमारा आज का ही नहीं है, ये एंशिएंट हिस्ट्री उठा के देखेंगे, वैदिक हिस्ट्री अगर उठा के देखें तो वहाँ पर लिसनिंग, रिटेंशन और रिफ्लेक्टिव टीचिंग की बात की गई है कि जब तक बच्चा श्रवण मनन ध्यान नहीं करेगा, सिर्फ रिफ्लेक्ट नहीं करेगा, तब तक उसको ज्ञान नहीं हो पाएगा। आज सभी जगह स्कूल कॉलेजेस में NCF 2005 NPE 2020 में ये सिर्फ एक्सपीरियंशियल टीचिंग की बात की गई है। और अब ये हमारा एक्सपीरियंशियल टीचिंग का मतलब कहें कि बच्चों को स्वयं अनुभव, लर्निंग बाय डूइंग या हैंड्स बाय लर्निंग बच्चों को करने दिया जाए तो बहुत अच्छा एक्सपीरियंशियल होगा। और अगर हम इंडियन फिलॉसफी या वेस्टर्न फिलॉसफी की अगर बात करें तो वेस्टर्न फिलॉसफी में और इंडियन फिलॉसफी में महात्मा गांधी जी, स्वामी विवेकानंद जी ने, अरविंदो जी ने सिर्फ लर्निंग बाय डूइंग और उसके ऊपर बेस पे बात करी है कि इस टीचर को एक ऐसे बच्चों को अपने साथ इन्वॉल्व करना है कि बच्चों को खुद एक्टिविटी बेस पे कर पाए, कि टीचर एक मार्गदर्शन के रूप में रहे और उनको बच्चों को स्वयं करने दिया जाए। जैसा वो अगर इन्वॉल्व होगा तो बच्चा स्वयं ही उसको सीखता जाएगा उस चीज के लिए। तो उसमें हम जॉन डीवी ने भी बोला है कि जैसे कि बच्चों को रिलेटिव होना चाहिए, मतलब बिल्कुल जो भी हो साक्षात रूप में डायरेक्ट जो भी करे वो डायरेक्ट होना चाहिए, उसको कुछ फोकस होना चाहिए, फोकस कर पाएगा। और उसके अगर उन्होंने कहा है कि बच्चों को एक्टिविटी बेस पर बच्चों को करने दिया जाए और बच्चा जब तक स्वयं नहीं कर पाएगा तो बच्चा नहीं सीख पाएगा। जैसे हमने अगर एक एग्जांपल लें कि हमें बच्चों को प्लांट पढ़ाना है, प्लांट्स के पार्ट्स के बारे में पढ़ाना है, तो बच्चा को पहले हम ये नहीं बताएंगे प्लांट्स है, बच्चों को पहले फ्लावर हाथ में दें, उसको देने के बाद उसको कहेंगे बेटा बच्चों देखो इसमें क्या आपको दिख रहा है, क्या क्या इसके पार्ट्स दिख रहे हैं। तो वो क्या होगा, बच्चा उसको चीज को देखेगा, उसको चिंतन मनन करेगा, फिर रिफ्लेक्टेड होगा, तो वो जो उसको नॉलेज होगा वो एकदम से बहुत अच्छा नॉलेज होगा, बहुत अच्छे से उसे सीख पाएगा। तो एक जॉन डीवी का वीडियो भी है, उन्होंने इसे बताया है, तो उसको अब देखते हैं हम लोग कि जॉन।
There are only a few ideas that had as much of an impact on education as those of John Dewey. To understand his ideas, let's imagine Dewey reappears in the modern world with the mission to implement his theories in a conservative school. Dewey championed learning by doing, also known as experiential learning. He observed that children learn better when they are actively engaged because they are immersed in the present and not a distant future, such as final exams. In biology, students don't read books, but instead grow plants, harvest fruits, and then feed them to snails to see what happens. Sometimes things work out, sometimes accidents happen. Whatever the outcome, the students take notes of their observations and form rich, memorable experiences. At the end of each class, they summarize their learning and turn to discussions. The discussions prepare the students for life in a democratic society where decisions ought to be based on reasonable arguments. Through the debates, the children learn to formulate their own ideas, convince others, and learn to see the world from a different point of view. In one discussion, some started to argue that school uniforms limit self-expression and that they should be abolished. Dewey, who believed that schools should prepare children for life itself and serve society as a force for innovation and reform, encouraged those students to start a petition to find out for themselves if real social change is possible. Classes are interactive because Dewey believes that interaction with the environment is essential for the learning process, since education is an experience that is subject to constant change. Passive recipients of knowledge, on the other hand, learn very little, if anything at all. The group who started the petition present their ideas to the teacher and start a dialogue that expands their understanding and underlines their learning. Learning is interdisciplinary. Dewey believed that continuity is critical to comprehension and that an interdisciplinary education allows students to build on what they already know, which strengthens their understanding. What they observed in biology is being calculated in math, written about in English, and put into images through the arts. This provides the students the opportunity to learn how things are connected. To the brain, this process is more effective because it can link new knowledge with previous experiences and build stronger mental models. Dewey believed that when societies calculate the price of education, they shouldn't only look at the cost of school buildings, teachers' salaries, and other resources. They should also consider the costs of all the hours input by the children. Because the children are the future of our society and human progress, their time in class ought not to be wasted. It is thus the school's responsibility to be a playground to practice a future we wish to see, so when the kids grow up, they can go and create it. About education, Dewey famously said, "It's not a preparation for life, education is life itself." The group that sought dress code reform gained a deeper knowledge about the topic and were able to develop good arguments. They printed their demands on banners and tracts and discussed their ideas with everyone until the day the majority of students and teachers had signed their petition. Eventually, the petition was presented to the principal and a new school rule was passed. Dewey's ideas were not always popular during his time, and while we made some progress in education over the last 100 years, is the situation really any better today? What do you think? Did you experience learning by doing in your school? And does your school encourage you and your friends to engage in social reform and create the future we wish to see? Please share your thoughts in the comments below.
महाविद्यालय के इस महाविद्यालय के निदेशक महोदय डॉक्टर अनूप कुमार जी से निवेदन करती हूँ सर इस वेबिनार के लिए कुछ अपने शब्द बोलें।
Good afternoon to one and all present in the webinar. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome the dignitaries in this educational webinar. I convey my warm welcome to our expert panel members, Principal Dr. M.P.S. World School, Sri Charles Clarence sir, Assistant Professor Dr. Dayal Sindhuji of Jamia Millia Islamia University, New Delhi, along with our reverend faculty members, Mrs. Urvashi Rana and Ms. Seema Dhingra. This is our first webinar in Winter Webinar Series 2022. This topic is of great importance in present scenario. As we all know, that experiential learning is not a new thing in teaching, but it exists since long. The experiential learning is nothing special, but simply it is a learning by doing process. Means we should teach our students through demonstrations and make the learning interesting as much as we can. NCRT has given more emphasis on experiential learning due to the reason that students can grasp the core concept of any theoretical topic more quickly and more effectively by visualizing the concepts taught in the classrooms. To make teaching interesting, we should use more practical work and should frame the puzzles, quizzes related to the subjects. It will definitely create the interest among the students, and teaching should be interesting, not more on the subject. Our expert will deliver details in this concern. In the end, I would like to thank all the guests and participants with the hope that this webinar shall be helpful to inculcate more teaching skills among the teachers. Thank you. Thank you very much.
धन्यवाद सर, बहुत-बहुत आपने अच्छे विचार प्रकट करे इसके लिए। अब मैं साथ ही प्रिंसिपल डॉक्टर एमपीएस वर्ल्ड स्कूल सर के चार्ल्स क्वेन सर से मैं निवेदन करूँगी। सर का बहुत अच्छा एक्सपीरियंसेस है और सर कुछ इसके बारे में बताएँ सर, जो आपने लॉकडाउन के दौरान भी आपने बहुत अच्छा टास्क भी किया था। तो सर
Thank you so much, Madam Urvashi ma'am, for this wonderful opportunity. I am very grateful to Director Sir and all the team over here for the welcome, etc. When we talk about experiential learning, छोटी सी कहानी से शुरू कर देते हैं. Okay, I'll not take much time. छोटी सी कहानी से शुरू कर देते हैं. There was a father who had spoiled his 4 sons. बच्चों को बिगाड़ दिया. And he was in his last days. He did not know what to do. So his sons had come to him and said, Father, tell us where is the treasure. He said, okay, I'm going to tell you where the treasure is, isn't it? So he said, it is in the field. So he says, where in the field? He said, I forgot. So they dug up the entire field. When they dug up the entire field, he said, we did not find the treasure. He says, you put seeds in it and allow the seeds to grow. So when you allow the seeds to grow, where the treasure is, there will be no seeds. So anyway, the seeds started growing, they watered it, etc. He said, wait a little longer. So as the trees were growing, father died. And when the father died, they saw this huge crop. And when they saw the huge crop, it had become ready. So they cut the crop and they sold it and they got a lot of money. That's when they realized, okay, this is where the treasure is. Now, this kind of learning is known as experiential learning, which I'm sure everybody knows about, etc. Experiential learning is something that is going to make headways in this world. Now, we cannot move by just saying things and not knowing what they are. Very often, we will find students who will rattle out concepts. They will just say concepts, anything. You ask them definitions, etc. But they do not know what actually they are saying or how it can be used. And the use of your knowledge is most important. Knowledge gets transferred from one area to another area. When you open a shop, you have to have a combination of 3 or 4 knowledge skills. See, knowledge is one thing and skill, converting that knowledge into skill is what is important. We all earn by knowledge skills. Even when you speak, there are skills that are involved. And these skills that are involved are knowledge skills, which actually are the effective methods of engineering a job, engineering your life. You see, even life is not normal. Life is not normal. You have to have interpersonal relationship. How will you have interpersonal relationship when you learn the right way? So even if a child is learning mathematics through an experiential learning, for example, if he learns to count till 10, so he has to take a ball and take this ball and 1 ball over here, 2 ball over here, 3 balls over here, 4 balls over here. So in that process, he's learning 2 or 3 things. Apart from learning about mathematics, he's also learning motor, got it? How to move his hands, Got it? He's also learning how to place the ball, what to do with things. So there are hundreds of things that take place when you're in a paradigm of experiential learning. The next is, I think there's someone's mobile. There's someone's mobile working, right? Can you remove the mobile? No, I think it's over here only. Right. Great. Sorry. Okay, so when we're talking about experiential learning, there are hundreds of things that we need to take care of. Now, I'll be just focusing on a very small aspect of experiential learning. And the experiential learning basically is need and demand of how do we understand what is need and what is demand. All right, these are small things, but we need to work on them. Got it? A demand is basically a request for a specific product that the buyer is willing to and able to pay for. So that is a demand. All right, and today we have great demands in our life, right? Now these demands can only be satisfied when we understand how we can use experiential learning to make our lives better. Got it? For example, we're talking about our reliability on transportation, right? How do we our reliability on transportation? Can we use methods of transportation that will become easier for us? For example, why invest in a car when you can always hire something, got it, for 2 or 3 people, got it, and have a pool car which will cost you much cheaper. You'll have less headaches, got it, and you'll have minimum things to work on. Now all this will happen when a child actually is able to use his knowledge in an experiential manner. Now when we talk about experiential manner, I'm going to only talk about some very small little things about how we need to bring a change in life. So when we talk about an experiential learning, we remove the product. Okay, I'm doing a small little thing. We remove the product from this becoming a product. We change the product, and the product is you yourself. I become the product. When I say I become the product, basically what I'm trying to say is now I understand how to do things in a specific manner. I'm going to be very brief about this. All right, so just give me a minute or so. Number one, how many of us understand the value of soft skills? So experiential learning is about soft skills, how polite you are, your dressing sense, the way you are able to communicate. Now all these become a part of our skills, right, which we learn from experiential learning, because ultimately tomorrow if you become a manager, you become a shopkeeper, you become anyone, you need these skills to come up in life. Without soft skills, you're not going to move ahead. Second is how to get expertise. Got it? How to move, how to have a hands-on experience. Your ability to innovate, make things in a new manner, your ability to propagate, which we are again talking about marketing. So all these things will come in an automatic manner when we start teaching in through experiential learning. So anything that a person actually does with his hands and he experiences it, he acquires knowledge that will be unique to him. Always remember, when a teacher is teaching and it's a traditional class, every child learns a noun is the name of a person, place, animal, or thing. But through experiential learning, a person learns more than what is just being taught. Because we may be teaching him about nouns, but he learns pronunciation. He learns he learns many more things about how to actually interact with nouns, and how to play or create a game with nouns. And maybe tomorrow he can become okay, and maybe tomorrow he can become a software engineer who is actually creating, got it, a game of nouns which becomes famous like PUBG. Got it? So all this actually helps us to be, bring creative into the domain of people who continue to innovate and make this nation great. Please understand, the more innovations we have, the better it is. My last is, experiential learning teaches us business models. It is actually an immersion into learning. You see, you can learn a language by someone teaching you, okay, we can just put you into France and you will start speaking French automatically in a day or two. So the same thing happens with experiential learning. I think I've ended my lecture for now. Thank you so much and God bless you all. Great.
इसलिए मतलब ये कह सकते हैं कि एक्सपीरियंशियल टीचिंग से बच्चा अगर इन्वॉल्व होता है तो उसका बहुत सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस बढ़ता है। अपनी पढ़ाई को बहुत एन्जॉय के साथ वो पढ़ेगा, अपना बर्डन नहीं समझेगा कि मुझे ये पढ़ना है और उसमें इन्वॉल्व हो रहा है तो बहुत उसका इंटरेस्ट भी बढ़ेगा। अपना लाइफ में स्पेंड अपना जो भी पढ़ रहा है उसको समझेगा कि मैं अपने लाइफ को कैसे मतलब अच्छे व्यवस्थित कर सकता हूँ। अब इसी के साथ मैडम को मैं नमन वो करती हूँ कि वो आएँ अपना विचार प्रकट करें इस पे अपना वेबिनार में।
Thank you, Urvashi ma'am. Respected all the dignitaries of M.P.S group of institutions, and also I'm thankful to the convener, Urvashi ma'am, and also the also Seema Dhingra ma'am, for giving me an opportunity to speak before you in an interesting topic, that is the experiential teaching is the need of global teaching environment. So I would like to share my PowerPoint presentation with you all. Uh, Slides are visible on your screens.
Yes, sir, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And my voice is audible. Is audible.
Yes, ma'am. Audible.
All right. So today we are going to discuss that how experiential teaching is the need of global teaching environment. So, like Charles Clare's sir has already discussed so well about the topic and given a just a introduction that what actually experiential learning is and how it is helpful for the teachers and the students both. So basically, it is the process of learning by doing. We engage the students in the hands-on experiences and also the reflection. So if we talk about that, what is the difference between traditional learning or traditional teaching or the experiential learning or the experiential teaching, is that it involves the hand-on experiences and also it helps in the reflection. So we are more able to connect the theories and knowledge with the real world situations. That is the motto. We correlate with the theories and knowledge with the real world situations, and it also gives an opportunities that it exists in a variety of course and non-course based forms, and it always welcome the experiences such as the students are having in the internship or student teaching or the capstone projects. So all these experiences, all are countable and inculcate in the experiential learning. So when students participate in this experiential educational opportunities, what basically they gain? They gain a better understanding of the course material, first of all. Then they have a broader view of the world and an appreciation of the community. They can have the broader view. In the traditional, they have somewhat a narrow view which is limited to their classrooms. But when we talk about experiential learning, they have a broader view of the world and have an appreciation of the community as well. They can have an insight into their own skills, that what innate capabilities they are possessing, what potential they are possessing, what are their interests, their passions, and what are the values they are having. So all these they can take an account in the experiential learning. Basically, through the experiential learning, they have the opportunities to collaborate with the diverse organization and the people. They have the positive professional practices and the skill set. Also they have developed the self confidence, and which is very important for any learning and teaching. And also they can have the leadership skills, which is the quality which is a very important ingredient, I must say, that which is a very important ingredient as they learn the leadership skills through the experiential learning, because they naturally becomes the self explorer. Through the experiential learning, they self explore, they become a discoverer, and they can have their own experiences, and they utilize that learning skills into their teaching, into their learning, and teacher also utilize their experiences in their teaching. All right. So basically, it comprises of learning activities that is both inside and outside the classroom. Not it is in the traditional mode we have only it is limited up to the classroom. But when we talk about the experiential learning, it comprises of the learning activities which involves both inside and outside the classroom, and it is designed to actively engage the students to learning by doing, by reflection, by the hands-on experiences. So, experiential learning activities can be designed and incorporated into any learning environment. Not, we can say, a particular level grade, but from the kindergarten to the tertiary education as well as the adult education. So, this kind of learning is not limited to only if we say a small kids or a graduate student. It is from the kindergarten to the adult education. Now, what is the problem with the traditional learning? Sometimes what happens that traditional education styles in which teacher imparts the information and student absorb the information can be little monotonous, or the students are little bored, or because they become a passive recipient of the knowledge. Teachers are giving the lectures and students are just listening, and they become passively, they are not that much active. But if we provide them experiences, if they are involved in the experiential learning like field trips, narratives, and some educational excursions, then they can correlate that theory with the practical experience. So they can collaborate the both theory and the practical experiences, so that this will give them a deeper understanding, and this the retention will be for the long time. If we learn any concept, only if we understood the theory of that concept, so what happened that it just we know and we have learned, and it goes away from our mind sometimes. Okay. But but if we have some deeper understanding, if we have some practical experiences of that concept, then it will have a stronger retention and it will stay in our mind longer. The retention will be longer. Okay. So by introducing experiential learning activities can negate this by introducing increased challenge and deeper and more memorable learning experiences. So the learning experiences became more memorable. Then, if we have the examples of experiential learning activities that include the field trips for conservation, we have the outdoor or exploring employment, group work, in and out the classroom, open-ended discussions we can have, open-ended discussion activities, and also open-ended questioning guidance. So, research has also proven that students of all ages learn better during initiatives that involve applying concepts in practice in order to solve real world problems. If we order to solve the real world problems, we should have the authentic learning, we should have the active learning. Both these components involved in the experiential learning. So one can make decisions. Decisions can be made actively, and we can also reflect on the outcome or consequences of their learning actions and the decisions. So this is a very important part that one can, because of the experiential learning, one can have the actively make decisions, and also we can reflect on the outcomes or the consequences of one's learning decisions and actions. So here the teacher becomes more of a facilitator when designing experiential learning. Experiential learning is not new, and it also may have the various names in education around the world, such as flexible learning, service learning, community service, community engagement, or the outdoor education. Yes. All right. So we are talking about that here a teacher becomes more of a facilitator when designing experiential learning activities. So experiential learning is not basically new. It have various names in education around the world. That is the flexible learning we have the service learning, community service, and also the community engagement or the outdoor education. So here the facilitator presents challenges or problems and then allows the students freedom with guidance to come up with the ways of solving the problems. Okay. So here students have a chance or they have the freedom or the guidance to come with the ways of solving the problem. Here the students are given the opportunities to solve their problems, to solve their basic curiosities that they want to ask a teacher. They can become a self explorer, they can become a discoverer. Here the students get a chance to become a discoverer. So facilitator can then observe and guide learning as it is actively taking place. This means that issues and misunderstandings can be addressed immediately. Means like if we have the issues or if we have the misunderstandings, they can be addressed immediately as the part of the learning process rather than corrected at a later stage after the project have been completed. So here it is far more concerned with the problem solving process. So if we have the experience of some concept or if we have stuck in some problem, if we have some experiences, so we can, what we can do, we can actively participate in that problem learning process and sort out that problem. Then experiential learning pedagogy in education. We have well designed experiential learning activities as an excellent combination of learning, understanding, doing, and reflection. So each aspect enhances the others, resulting in the knowledge and skills development, also in the deep understanding of the subject matter and of the complex concepts, and also the ability to apply that concepts in practice. We in our experiential learning, we have an given an opportunity that concepts which we have learning, the theory which we are learning, we can apply that concepts in practice. That is the big thing, that we can applying that concepts in practice, and it is in process that will encourage the critical thinking in the future professionals. To do this and still maintain academic rigor is the challenge that educators need to address in designing meaningful experiential learning curriculum and engaging activities. So the curriculum nowadays, which should be designed, it should be have a meaningful experiential learning curriculum. That curriculum should be having the meaningful experiential learning curriculum, and it should have the engaging activities so that the students can have so many experiences out of it and they can correlate their theories with the knowledge in a practical way, which they can correlate with the practical aspect. So today's educators need to teach and scaffold inquiry-based learning that successfully cross the division between application and the academics. So these valuable opportunities for creativity and academic learning that consistently provide learners with focus and rigor in that subject. Means like if they have some practical knowledge or the practical knowledge of some aspect, they can consistently provide learners with focus and also the rigor in that subject and across all the subjects. So basically these characteristics includes a mixture of content and the process, absence of excessive judgment, where the instructor must create a safe space for students to work through their own process of self discovery. Then we have one more characteristic, that is the engagement in the purposeful endeavors. Whatever effort we are making, whatever the purposeful effort we are making, that should possess the engagement of the student. So basically, in experiential learning, the learner is the self teacher. Here, the learner is itself a self teacher. Therefore, there must be meaning for the student in the learning. So the learning activities must be personally relevant to the student. Then we have encouraging the big picture perspective. Experiential activities must allow the students to make connection between the learning they are doing and also around the world. So basically the activities should build in students the ability to see the relationships. So basically, experiential learning helps the students to build in the to abilities to see the relationship in the complex system and to find a way to work within them. So here the most important here is the role of the reflection. So students should be able to reflect on their own learning, own bringing. So the theory of life and gaining insight into themselves and their interaction with the world. This is very important thing. Then we have the re-examination of values. By working within a space that has been made safe for self-exploration, students can begin to analyze, even alter their own values with the experiential learnings, which the values which we practice generally, they can alter their own values also with the help of the experiential learning if they develop some new values in their selves. Here experiential learning also have the presence of meaningful relationships. One part of getting students to see their learning in the context of the whole world is to start by showing the relationship between the learner to self and learner to teacher, and learner to learning environment. So there are three aspects: the relationship between learner to self, learner to teacher, and learner to the learning environment. So learning outside one perceived comfort zones. So basically experiential learning is basically a once perceived, it is outside one's perceived comfort zone. It is an enhanced way when students are given the opportunity to operate outside of their comfort zone. They come out of their comfort zone, they practice their concepts in a practical way, they apply that knowledge. The application part is very important in the experiential learning. Also the experiences they gain, they come out of their comfort regime basically. This doesn't refer just to physical environment but also the social environment as well. Next, we have what are the benefits out of there? The students will have the increased focus, first of all. The active and the engaged nature of the inquiry based and experiential learning means that the chances of students becoming boring or losing interest or checking out, it's less likely during a more traditional teaching lesson. So their focus is increased. The next one is the activate learning. By being involved in a part of learning process, the students experience a dynamic method of learning in which they are emotionally invested and present. So learning happens more naturally, basically. Then they have how rapid learning. Problem solving and creative thinking increases the students' direct engagement with that concept, which dramatically increases content retention and learning. As I discussed this in the previous slide also, that when we have experiential learning, we apply that concept, then we have a stronger retention. It will stay in our mind for a longer time. Basically, sometimes what happened, we have learned some concept, it goes away from our mind, but when we practice that concept, when we have a application of that concept, that theory remain in our mind for the longer time and we have the deeper understanding of the concept. So using the experiential and inquiry based service concepts improve learning outcomes. In traditional learning models, the teacher is the central focus. Here the teacher is the central focus, and while experiential learning flip the focus onto the student themselves. What happens in the traditional mode of classroom, the teacher is the central focus, the teacher is the key point. But when we talk about the experiential learning, it flips the focus from the teacher to the student themselves. The focus is from teachers to the students themselves. It flips the focus. So this is very important part, that experiential learning flips the focus onto the student themselves, and the learning outcomes are more flexible and less about a scoring system alone. Traditional teaching stops once information is transferred or explained, while more engaged practice through the learning by doing and engaging the senses. Basically, the experiential learning engage our senses through learning by doing, through hands-on experiences, and we develop the knowledge and skill through the real experiences. So basically, through the experiential learning, we develop the knowledge and the skills through the real experiences. So, if we talk about teaching in context of teaching, experiential learnings makes teaching more effective, because every teacher want to know that their teaching has been effective and made a positive difference to the students. When we are a teacher, we are accountable that when we are teaching students class, then we have a goal that we should have a positive difference. We make positive difference in our students. Their modification of behavior can be done. This is our goal. So, by incorporating experiential learning into our curriculum learning, it provides a safe learning environment in which mistakes will be made, but they will provide valuable learning without the negative consequences. First of all, move beyond the theory and into the realm of first hand experience. By applying the knowledge and skills, learners are able to increase retention of concepts. So through the experiential learning, we have the retention of the concepts, and we can apply the knowledge and the skills in the learners. So here it will result in the real mindset change. So through the experiential learning, we are flipped to the focus from the traditional to the experiential, and there will be a real mindset change through the learning skills such as leadership, empathy, collaboration, communication, and through meaningful opportunities to practice. Then we have increased ownership and therefore engagement in learning process. So the need for deep learning, focus, and concentration needed to actively create their own learning speeds up the learning process dramatically. It speeds up basically the learning process dramatically. So the accelerated learning method increases learning. So this is basically an accelerated method which increases our learning. So this is a very this gives us acceleration. Personalize the learning process to individual strengths and also to the areas of the growth. So the important aspect is that we required a mindset shift, that we require a mindset shift from the traditional mode to the experiential learning. It is a requirement that the learning and teaching mindset shift should be from traditional to the experiential. So, experiential learning can create powerful mindset shifts in the learners, because it has the ability to create a powerful mindset in the learners and in their understanding of the world around them, and their ability to make a positive impact in the present. So, they have a positive impact in the present and not in some vague time in the future when they are qualified or have completed their education. So it makes a sense that learning by doing creates a rich platform for deeper learning. See, if we have the hands-on experiences, or if we have the learning by doing, so it will definitely create a rich platform for the deeper learning, accelerated learning, and also we generally inculcate in ourselves real world skills and character development. So basically, traditional and the academic learning will always have its place and can be incorporated into experiential learning, and often as the starting block to the engaged experiences. So, Kolb's in 1984 have given a cycle of learning depicts that experiential learning process. The process includes the integration of knowledge, activity, reflection, and it also have the following elements, like experiences are carefully chosen for their learning potential, whether they provide opportunities for students to practice or deepen emergent skills, encounter novel and the unpredictable situations. So students have the ability to sort out the problems in the when they have encountered novel problems. So, throughout the experiential learning process, the learner is actively engaged in posing questions, investigating, experimenting. They become curious, solving problems, assuming responsible. They become creative. They construct the meaning, and it is challenged to take their initiative, to make decisions, and they are also accountable for their results. They are accountable for their results. So during experiential learning, the facilitator role is to select the suitable experiences that meet the criteria above, and also to pose the problems, to set the boundaries, support learners, they provide suitable resources, and they ensure physical and emotional safety, and they facilitate the learning process. So they basically encourage the spontaneous opportunities for learning and engaging with the challenging situation, experimentation and engaging with the challenging situation, and have the discovery of the solutions. So some form of experiential learning includes internships. You can have internships, and also there are field trips, service learning, cooperative education, clinical education, student teaching, practicum, we have practical subjects, undergraduate research experiences, community based research, field work, you can study abroad, you have a practical exposure. So basically it is in process. If we go into more in a concise way, it is a process of making meaning out of a direct experience. Learning by doing is the motto, it's a key word. Basically personalized reflection about an experience, and also the formulation of plans to apply learning to other contexts. So what is it emphasis? It emphasis on the process of learning, not on the product. Basically, it emphasizes on the process. What process has been going? What experiences you are developing? So that is more important. They definitely do the product also, but process, they more emphasize on the process of learning. So experiential learning is equivalent to the personal growth and personal change and growth. Matlab, if we talk about personal change and growth, then it is the right word, experiential learning. It feels that all human beings have a natural propensity to learn, and the role of the teacher is to facilitate such learning. So here the role of the teacher is a facilitator. The teacher acts as a torch bearer. Torch bearer is that who shows us the path. The teacher is a facilitator of such learning. So this is the experiential learning cycle. If you can see on your screens, that first we have experiences, that an activity occurs. Then we have sharing, that is we have reactions and observations are shared. Then we analyze, that patterns and dynamics are determined. From the analyzing part, we inferred the principles that are drive, and then we apply. That plans are made to use learning in new situations. So the experiential learning cycles steps are experiencing, then sharing, then analyzing, then inferring, and then in the last we have to apply. Some of the examples or the methods for the experiential learning is the field trips, narratives, we can conduct the experiments, simulations, games, storytelling, focused imaging, field observations, role playing, model buildings, and also the surveys. Like field trips, we have the structured activity that occurs outside the classroom. It can be brief observational activity or a longer, more sustained investigation or the project. Its purpose, it offers an opportunity for students to get exposure to real people and events. It gives an opportunity to make connections with the others. It also helps to visit people and places that are not normally exposed to during the school day. Now this is one of the examples. And narratives, we have narrative essays are told from a defined point of view, often the author, so there is a feeling, specific and often sensory details provided to get the reader involved in the elements and sequence of the story. So narratives is also a part of the experiential learning. Then also we can have experiments, like methodological trial and error procedure carried out with the goal of verifying, falsifying, or establishing the validity of a hypothesis. Like in the experiments part, students able to perform the trial and error method, and also they can test the hypothesis. Hypothesis is the tentative solution of a problem. So they can have the tentative solution of a problem through their experiences. So experiments provides insight into the cause and effect. by demonstrating what outcome occurs when a particular factor is manipulated. We also have simulations that the teacher controls the parameters of this world and uses it to achieve the desired instructional results. So basically, the experiential learning is more enjoyable, it is a motivating activity. Elements of reality is compatible with principles of constructivism, where we construct a meaning. It enhances appreciation of the more subtle aspects of the concept and the principle, and it also promotes the critical thinking. It basically promotes concept attainment through experiential practice, and it is effective at helping students understanding the concept of a circumstances. So here students are more deeply involved in simulation than the other activities. We also have the games and play that it provides the opportunity for children to work out their feelings, and they can build a social skills out of this. More activities of the experiential learning is the storytelling, which we do with the kids, that conveying of events in words, images, and sounds, often by improvisation. And one reason for the storytelling is to capture a moment or event and immortalize it. These are the field observations. Then we have role playing. In role playing, students act out a character in a predefined situation. It allows the students to take risk-free positions by acting out characters in a hypothetical situations. So by role playing, also they can have the deeper understanding of some subject. Also, we have model building. It involves the creation of models either from kits or from materials and the components acquired by the builder. This we can display in the exhibition forms. We also have the surveys, that the purpose of a survey depends upon what the survey is used for. And it is a method of gathering information from the selection of the individuals. These are the sources, references from this. The PPT has been taken out. Thank you so much.
थैंक यू मैम, आपने बहुत अच्छा बोला। और इसी के साथ मैं मिसेस सीमा ढींगरा को बोलना चाहूँगी, वो अपना कुछ विचार बोलें इस वेबिनार के लिए।
धन्यवाद तुलसी राणा। आदरणीय समस्त विशिष्ट जनों को मेरा सादर नमस्कार। वंडरफुल प्रेजेंटेशन मैम, आपका प्रेजेंटेशन बहुत ही अच्छा था। जो
हेलो मैम, नेटवर्क इशू हो गया है। हेलो, आवाज नहीं आ रही है मैम। हेलो मैम, आपने बहुत अच्छा बोला और कॉलवे वाला साइकिल बताया आपने। और अगर कॉलवे साइकिल अगर हर टीचर्स अगर प्रेजेंट करे ना, तो ये प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं आए और हमारा हर भारत का प्रत्येक बच्चा जो है ना, उज्जवल भविष्य के लिए और जाएगा। और वो टीचिंग में इतना एंजॉय करेगा, अपनी लर्निंग में इतना एंजॉय करेगा कि वो नहीं सोचेगा कि मैं क्या हार्ड पढ़ रहा हूँ या क्या कठिन से कठिन चीज़ को भी बहुत एंजॉय के साथ स्टडी करेगा। और अगर हमें कहें कि कॉलवे जो भी अगर टीचर्स को एक्सपीरियंस लर्निंग कराना है, तो जो भी टॉपिक है कॉन्क्रीट रूप में दिया जाए उसको। कॉन्क्रीट रूप में दिया जाएगा तो बच्चा क्या होगा कि उसका रिफ्लेक्टेड होगा। कॉन्क्रीट मतलब उसको देने के बाद वो खुद सोचेगा मैं क्या पढ़ रहा हूँ, क्यों पढ़ रहा हूँ, उसके ऑटोमेटिकली क्वेश्चंस निकलते जाएंगे उसके लिए। तो कॉलवे साइकिल्स को आज के टाइम अगर हम करें तो बहुत बेनिफिट है आज के टाइम हमारी लर्निंग के लिए भी, बच्चों के लिए भी। और मैं ये सोचती हूँ कि एक्सपीरियंशियल टीचिंग, हेलो, एक्सपीरियंस अभी मैम को क्या कहते हैं, मैम नहीं आ पाई हैं, उस वजह से थोड़ा सा डिस्टर्ब नेट कनेक्शन हो रहा है। आने वाली है मैम। हाँ मैम आ गई, कंटिन्यू करें।
मैडम मैडम बहुत फुल प्रेजेंटेशन है मैडम का। आज बहुत अच्छा प्रेजेंटेशन था जो हमारी
हेलो मैम, नेट का प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है।
Sorry for interruption. Sorry for interruption.
सॉरी मैम, सॉरी मैम।
One question is to my Dr. Dayal Sandhu ji.
Yes.
Can
Yes,
kindly
sir.
explain okay, how we will inculcate the online experiential learning teaching in online education?
Yes.
Because it is very
See,
difficult. What our teachers, educators are feeling a lot of difficulty in online teaching because teaching skills are not so advanced that we can inculcate experiential learning, experiential teaching in online education.
very rightly said, sir. Sir, as we know this, that during the pandemic or epidemic of COVID-19, all we have switched to the online education mode.
Yes,
And here, the experiential learning part, like teachers here have used different platforms for teaching. Like classes are running on the Google Meet, your Zoom platform, WebEx, Cisco WebEx, and they have used many platforms like Blackboard platform. There's a software called Blackboard for platform and all. So this is a very means this is this experience which the teachers and students are getting. This is a new type of learning that emerges during the pandemic. एंड कि इससे ये भी पता चला है कि ऐसे भी लर्निंग हो सकती थी, ऐसे भी टीचिंग हो सकती है, ये पैंडेमिक ने हमें सिखाया है. और आई थिंक इससे ये भी हुआ कि जो टीचर्स दे आर नॉट टेक्नोलॉजी फ्रेंडली ऑल्सो, दे आर नॉट यूज सो मच ऑफ कंप्यूटर लिटरेट, दे आर नॉट कंप्यूटर लिटरेट, बट दे आर यूजिंग द technology so well, they are upgrading their technology, and also the students at the same part, they are also learning new methods of learning teaching. So this is also a part of experiential learning only. They're getting new experiences through this. And definitely, I think in the during the pandemic, everyone has learned so much in the educational field, because here the teachers and are the real heroes. Like during the COVID, all the teachers have taught from their homes to the students through online teaching, and we should hats off all the teachers. They have become, they have new experiences by learning new technology and teaches students so well. And so this is a part of experience only. This is experiential learning only.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am, continue. सीमा मैम, सीमा मैम का नेटवर्क इशू आ रहा है मैम. तो अब हेलो सीमा मैम. सर मैं चार्ल्स सर से क्वेश्चन पूछना चाहूंगी. चार्ल्स सर नहीं है. हेलो मैम, आपसे क्वेश्चन है कि आप जब ऑनलाइन जैसे लॉकडाउन में हुआ था, लॉकडाउन के दौरान आपने कैसे एक्सपीरियंशियल किया है इसके?
uh, फिर से आप रिपीट करेंगे क्वेश्चन, जो ऑडिबल.
लॉकडाउन के दौरान जब हुआ था हमारा, तो उस टाइम आपने एक्सपीरियंशियल टीचिंग के लिए कैसे करा होगा कुछ?
देखिए, एक्सपीरियंशियल लर्निंग तो हमारी लॉकडाउन के पीरियड में, जैसे मैंने अभी जवाब दिया आपको, वही उसी का मैं सेम ही जवाब देना चाहती हूँ. देखिए, हमने नई नई टेक्नोलॉजी सीखी कोविड-19 पैंडेमिक के टाइम में. ये हमारा बहुत बड़ा अचीवमेंट है कि हमने इतनी टेक्नोलॉजी सीखी, क्योंकि बिकॉज हम एक तरह से कन्फाइंड हो गए. जो हमारा रेगुलर मोड क्लासरूम चलता था, फिजिकल इंटरेक्शन होता था, वो बिल्कुल बंद हो गया. इवन मीटिंग्स हो रही है डिपार्टमेंट्स की, एवरीथिंग इज इन दी ऑनलाइन मोड. होल होल सिनेरियो चेंज टू दी ऑनलाइन मोड. और अभी भी वो इम्प्लीमेंट हो रहा है, आप देख रहे हैं. अभी भी हम लोग जो वेबिनार कर रहे हैं, ये भी एक पैंडेमिक, ये भी एक एक्सपीरियंशियल लर्निंग ही है. आज हम यूट्यूब में जो मतलब जिस तरह से हो रहे हैं, ये हमारे लिए खुद ही एक एक्सपीरियंशियल लर्निंग ही है. और जो हम सीख रहे हैं, हमने नई चीज जब भी सीखी है, अंदर इनकलकेट करी है, वो हमारा एक्सपीरियंस का ही पार्ट है.
थैंक यू मैम, बहुत अच्छा बोला आपने. इसी के साथ मैं अपना ये सीमा मैम नहीं आ पाई हैं, तो खेद है मुझे, इससे नेटवर्क इशू आ रहा है. डायरेक्टर सर से कहूँगी कुछ और बोलना चाहें तो बोल सकते हैं सर इसके लिए.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. सीमा मैम से कहिए प्लीज चेंज
सीमा मैम,
ओके. थैंक यू मैम.
सीमा मैम,
थैंक यू वेरी मच.
थैंक यू
थैंक यू
सो मच.
मैम, थैंक यू मैम, थैंक यू सर. और
थैंक यू.
बहुत बहुत आपने अच्छा प्रेजेंटेशन दिया मैम, और आप आते
बहुत
रहिए
अच्छा.
समय समय पे हमारे. थैंक यू.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak
थैंक यू
my
मैम.
views in front of you all. Thank you so much. Thank you.